What's up, guys? So Konami have released a new Real Madrid pack, so I'm gonna take a look at this pack today and let you know if I think it's worth spending your coins on. So this pack will mainly be for free-to-play players, so I am on the free-to-play account. You can see I only have the 200 coins in the top right corner, so I want to make sure if these 200 coins are gonna be smartly spent on this pack or if it would be a waste. So we'll take a look now. Raul Asensio centre back. I wouldn't even bother with this guy just because of how poor his skills are. If you are curious, this is the build I'd go for, but I don't think you're gonna end up being using that guy. Danny Ceballos, the next player, orchestrator. I think this guy is actually pretty good in eFootball and PES. I used him years ago. He's got good player ID. He was very nimble on the ball. Ultimately, though, I think at this point his stats aren't really high enough. If you want to put skills on him, go for interception and track back, and then after that, maybe like a man marking first time shot, something like that. But again, I don't think too many people are going to be using him. The goalkeeper Lunin, there's not too much to say about him because I think his stats aren't great. I think you kind of need at least 4 stats over 90 at this point for a keeper to be useful. So again, probably not worth it. Although he is quite tall, 191 centimeters. Next player is Ferland Mendy. I think he is actually kind of decent in this game. I actually have a player of the week card at the moment in my team. He doesn't have extremely high stats. Like he's got good pace, but not the strongest defensive stats. But in game, I think particularly on like fullbacks and centre mids, you don't have to have the highest defensive stats. If you have good speed and good physical contact, you can kind of compensate for the lower defensive stats. So this guy could be useful if you don't have a defensive fullback. For the skills though, he does need a few. Like you'll need like an interception, probably a track back too. I think that's okay on fullbacks. I'd probably put aerial superiority on him just because if he's going to be playing against someone like Mbappe on the wing, without aerial might be a bit 50-50, but with aerial he should be winning most of those duels, and then probably like a one touch pass and a true pass as well to help him build out the back. Okay, so that's just the kind of 4 players that aren't great. We went through them very quickly, but we'll go a little bit more in depth for the rest of these players. So Eder Militao, his build is actually quite interesting to me because he actually has quite a lot of jumping. Where is he? Here he is. He's got 95 jumping, so that means his jump height will be 277, which is actually kind of towards the higher end because he's not even the tallest, 186, but he will be decent in the air, and then he is very fast too, 88 speed. Defense stats good, tackling, aggression, is he a destroyer? No, he's a build up. I mean, build ups are kind of rare, so are not rare. Out of in legends, build ups are rare. Most legends are destroyers. To have a build up like him, I think his stats kind of suit a destroyer more just because of the very high aggression, the high speed. But I'm sure he'll be fine. Like he's got decent passing stats as well. So he will be comfortable on the ball too. When we go to his skills, he's got like interception and blocker and aerial. They're the 3 kind of main ones you want for your centre back fighting spirit too. So he probably just needs kind of the one touch pass, the true passing. Probably could do with a man marking too. I think man marking though is more is it's about second man press. Like how long when you trigger second man press will they follow the player. So centre back is not the most important, but you just kind of want it just because you want there's no point putting shooting stats on centre back, so you might as well put the or skills, might as well put the defensive ones onto. So yeah, one touch pass, true pass, interception, man marking, and maybe like a cut behind and turn or a gamesmanship. So I think that Eder Militao isn't bad, but I don't think he's gonna be much better than whatever centre backs you kind of have at the moment, even if you are a free to play player. So next we'll look at Camavinga. Camavinga had an orchestrator card a while ago that a lot of people loved, especially in Dominator. I think it's this one here. Well, this one's a box to box, and I don't know which one I'd prefer in Camavinga because he's not the most nimble, so I don't know if I want orchestrator on him, but he also like doesn't have like good shooting for a box to box as well. But this is the build I have on him. You can see that we went for the 85 low pass. To be honest, you can probably change that. So if you want good passing, that's the build I'd go on. If you don't really care about that, you can actually take all the passing off. Keep it at 80 low pass. That will be fine. On my pay to win account, I have Mateus, my favorite centre mid in the game. Probably my 3rd or 4th best player, I think, in the game. And he only has 80 passing. And I think he's fine. So if you do that, then you can actually get the defensive stats. Take off the booster for a sec. Get the defensive stats up to 85 on 3 of them there, and then you can get that shooting up to 70 and the finishing up to 70, and then he becomes a lot more versatile there. So I think that build is probably the best you can do for a box to box. If we go over to his skills, you can see that he actually does start with quite a good bunch. So I'd want to be giving him flip flop first, just because he already has double touch soul control. That'll help him, especially because his finishing isn't the highest. If you do that double touch shot, you don't have to have good finishing stats for that. It'll still work. So I think double touch soul control, and then add on that flip flop too. He doesn't have true passing, surprisingly. You definitely need to give him that. And then I'd give him track back as well. So that's kind of your three midfield, then midfield skills sorted for you there, because he already has one touch pass, and then he needs true pass, and he already has interception. Or sorry, four skills, and then you need track back as well. And then after that, I would probably go for like a first time shot, and then a gamesmanship, or instead of gamesmanship, a cut behind and turn. Because he is a box to box, there will be instances where he overlaps into the box, so you probably would want first time shot on that, because if we go back to the build, we did level up his kick and bear quite a bit because we want that speed high in centre mid, so the first time shots might not be too bad with him. But the two main players we're going to be looking at in the pack, obviously, are Mbappe and Bellingham. So I already have versions of these guys on this account. So what I really want to see is it worth spending your coins, potentially 800 coins here, to get an upgrade on those two versions I already have. So I already have the GP version of him, and then a free fans version of Mbappe. So we'll look at Bellingham first. So I think Bellingham actually looks quite good to me. You can see you can get 85 finishing, 85 kick and power, 85 balance. That's the three I'm looking for mainly on him. And then he's got good, decent dribbling stats too. But to be honest, that balance is going to carry those dribbling stats quite a lot. And then he also is quite decent at the defensive stats as well. Now, to be honest, I'd be playing him more as an AMF, or if you're very confident in your against your opponent, like you don't think your opponent is too strong, you can play him centre mid. I'm not the biggest fan of hold players, so like if I'm playing a really good player, I wouldn't put Bellingham here. I want a box to box instead, so you go for that Camavinga or maybe a Kante. But if you feel like your opponent is low rated, I'd be happy to put Bellingham here. But if we just compare my GP Bellingham to this new one, you can see the cards are actually quite similar. The main thing you're getting is kick and power and speed. Which to be honest are two important stats. I don't know if it's worth 800 coins, so it's really going to come down to if you think Mbappe is going to be worth an upgrade on this free France version. But like the kick and power, I would say on this is a bit of a letdown. Like with his shooting, like, how many goals has he got for me? Yeah, he's got 26 goals and 20 assists in 100 games. Good few of them could be off the bench, to be fair. So the kick and power would be a nice boost just to help him with that finishing, and then the speed for his defensive ability really. But it's not the most obvious upgrade ever. So for the skills, I would go for true passing, aerial superiority, track back, interception, and then the last skill, you have a little bit of freedom. You could go for long range shooting, you could go for gamesmanship, or you could even go for long range curler. I would put the interception track back on him, even if you're going to be playing him in AMF, just because it'll help him defend from the front a little bit. And then if you do play him centre mid as well, obviously it's more obvious why you'd want those two skills. It does look like a good card, but the GP card is pretty good as well. Now we'll look at Mbappe. I think Mbappe is usually probably like the best free to play card in the game. What I mean by that is when you compare the difference between his free to play version and his pay to win versions, like his Showtime cards, I think the difference is usually very minimal, and I'd always be happier just to stick with the free version. So we'll see here if this one is also gonna be similar to the old Mbappe's or a bit more of an upgrade. And the first thing I'm noticing after building them is that he does have more kick and power but less dribbling. If we just compare to the old version, you can see like a lot less dribbling but a lot more kick and power too, because this one only has 76 while this one has 88. Now when it comes to this Mbappe, like obviously you would want more kick and power, but I think he's one of them players that his dribbling is so good that he can get into those shooting positions where he doesn't need the highest shooting stats. But this other Mbappe is going to be a bit worse at dribbling, but more of a ball striker. This new one also has 80 curl, so his finesse shots will be noticeably improved. And of course, you could change the build to get him to have more dribbling. So if we went like something like this, and maybe take an aerial off, we went with this, we can go into dexterity maybe. Yeah, so this would be probably a more balanced build. To 85 kick and power, so that's probably going to be the best of both worlds. Get like that dribbling ability still there, but also the boost on the kick and power, and you'll have 1 point left over for the passing, I guess. I would keep that one into aerial just because I notice your players have more kind of shielding ability when they have 70 physical contact. So if we just go over to Mbappe's skills, I think Mbappe is definitely someone who deserves the ball roll, so I'd give him flip flop and soul control. I'd also give him cut behind and turn. He would also need fighting spirit and then true passing just to help him be overall more consistent. If you don't want to go for the flip flap and soul control, you should probably go for long range shooting and probably outside curler because he has that 80 curl now, or even an aerial superiority. I always find aerial isn't actually too bad on Mbappe. It's not going to be to dominate the air and score loads of headers, but maybe just if you're playing him on the wing, particularly against that fullback, he'll be a little bit better. But my overall thoughts on the pack, because there's 8 players and you could be risking 800 coins, my situation, I think I'm not going to be upgrading. I think I'll be happy just to stick with the Bellingham and the Mbappe that I have and keep those coins for a later date, because like the Gasparini manager, for example, I think you'd be much better spending your 500 coins getting Gasparini rather than risk them on a sideways upgrade for Mbappe and Bellingham. Anyway, thanks for watching.